Welcome to Indie Film Podcast. I'm Victoria.
And I am Chuck. We're two independent filmmakers, and our goal with this podcast is to share our failures so that you can avoid them.
So follow us on our journey as we attempt to become the next big thing.
Or we just get farther and farther into debt, which is the most likely thing to happen.
Definitely.
There's
there.
There's a lot of people that are trying to become famous filmmakers.
Just write it off.
Yeah.
Probably just write it off.
If there was a line of people, it would be long. I don't know how long. It would be probably from here to 20 miles away of all the people that want to be indie filmmakers.
Probably.
We're all just waiting for our opportunity.
It's just our moment to shine.
Yes.
Well, when it comes to shining, not The Shining, though also a good example of our subject for today. What are we talking about?
We're talking about art department debacles. The month of February is Perils of Production. An art department can oftentimes be overlooked.
Oh, very much so, especially on indie sets.
Yes, and I know that because I've overlooked it massively.
I know that because I've been assigned that, and it didn't go well.
Uh-oh. Before we get into the screw-ups that we've made, should we talk about what the art department is?
Absolutely.
So what do you think of when you think of art department?
When I think of art department, I actually think of a lot of things.
Okay.
I think it covers so much.
Okay.
So it would be your production designer for sure. That's the one that's supposed to be kind of...
In charge of props? Or is
no, that would be
costumes?
Your props master.
Oh,
and then
dang.
that would be your costumer. And then
Okay.
you've also got your hair and makeup person. And then
Okay.
you've also got like your set decorators. And then you also have... I think this is maybe where it starts to kind of get a little bit sketchier on if everyone agrees with me on this, but I think also your graphic designer, whether for any graphics or credits or imagery in your film, as well as your promotional materials, and then also technically I think your storyboard artist can go here.
Okay.
So there's a lot in art department.
Yeah, and usually on the indie film sets, it's the director or
Their
location
significant
sound,
other.
which is what I do, and
Yes.
running around. I own a pickup, and so when it comes to indie
Oh.
film stuff, I end up having to haul a lot of crap
That's
around.
true.
Or if we need a set piece, it's like, Chuck, can you go grab it? And I say, I'm going to sell this damn truck, and I never do.
You never do.
Because it's a Toyota, and it's very reliable.
Shameless plug for Toyota, apparently.
I need a new truck, though, Toyota. It's very reliable, but it's getting close to 200,000 miles on that thing. So if you could send me a new one, I'd be more than happy to go pick up other people's crap.
There we go.
That's part of my duty. But
That's
yes, I do think of the one example when we were shooting our first feature film, Brown Truck, which if you subscribe to Lower Gentry Studios newsletter.
Another shameless plug.
Oh my gosh.
We're
I'm
on a
going to run out of
roll.
outlets. So the day before we started shooting, we were shooting in my house and I didn't have a coffee table. And so I had to spend the entire evening running around looking at random coffee tables at thrift shops and loading up the one that was going to work. And it's just one of those things that, like, if you put it off for so long because you're doing other crap, it ends up being an emergency, and then it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a key set piece, too.
A coffee table?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something that a lot of people would generally have.
Yes, but I'm also a weirdo. So I'm glad that we ended up getting that, and it was part of the indie film shoot budget. So
That was nice.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah, my brother paid for half of it. And is basically what ended up happening.
Oh.
'Cause we split the
then
cost
it
of
was
the
like
film.
your housewarming gift, too.
Yeah.
Look at him go. And what a good brother.
It was nice of him. It was nice
That
of
was
him.
nice.
So what did you screw up?
Well,
Top item. What's the top of this pyramid?
it's usually that it's never enough, right? It's never enough. And that's not a reference to the song. It's just, it isn't enough. I know for sure was what's the worst that could happen. I've
Okay.
talked about that short quite a few times.
Yes, I did location sound and sound design on that one.
Yes. And which was fantastic. So if you're hiring in the Boise area.
It's not streaming anywhere, is it?
No.
Okay.
I can't do a shameless plug for mine yet.
Oh, right on.
It's still on its little festival run. It actually just won another Best Script Award, though, last
cool.
weekend. So
Yeah, I did.
it did. Yeah.
the Dreamweaver.
At the Dreamweaver Film Festival from Jump. So thank you, Jump, for supporting that weird little short film.
And local film in general.
And local film in general.
Indie film.
They are great about that. So what's the worst that could happen? Probably needed some set decorations. For the one half of the shoot, it was in my home, so that was easy enough.
Yes.
Because the character was basically already playing me and could just use my house.
Correct.
That was nice. That worked out well. If you can just use a home that somebody lives in, strategically hide any photos you have to hide, and call it a day.
Hopefully they own a coffee table already.
Don't ask a bachelor if you can use his new home that he just
You
bought.
might be surprised. You might be surprised at what some of the furniture looks like.
It's a lot of IKEA.
Scope the place. Scope the place first. So
One thing, though, that would have helped was cleaning up the hotel room. I'm not cleaning, obviously. The hotel room was clean.
Yeah.
But maybe doing a little bit more with that. Or perhaps, I don't know, a costume for the maintenance worker. Since I was just, it's fine. Just wear old jeans and a ratty t-shirt. You'll be fine. You'll look like a maintenance guy. No, he just looked like a guy in a t-shirt and jeans who was randomly being asked to help. And I'm like, he could have at least used a tool belt.
Yeah.
I needed something there.
And a lot of that stuff just gets missed because you're not thinking about it.
No.
And then by the time you go behind the camera to hit record, it's too late. And you're thinking, well, I wish he would have had a jumpsuit.
You know what?
And a belt.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't. Even when I was editing it, I didn't think about that until one of the film festivals I submitted it to actually gave me the feedback. It would have been nice to understand he worked for the hotel. That's when it hit me. So sometimes, because I'm not a production designer, right? That's not what I do. I shouldn't be doing it. But because I thought I just could do it and get away with it, it didn't even occur to me.
Yeah.
Which is bad.
Oh, I do have a tip for people when it comes to set decoration.
Oh, let's
and
hear the art
location-
department tip.
And location scouting. So for our feature film Stockton to Table Rock, we rented a school.
Yeah.
And my brother and sister-in-law scouted it out ahead of time.
Nice.
And they're like, this is wonderful. We don't have to do anything. The place is decked out. We have access to these classrooms. We're just going to be able to go in there.
School.
It's a school, and we're going to be able to go in and we're going to shoot.
Nice.
We started shooting the week after they got out. And one of the things that they do is they take everything down. They take everything off the walls in all of the classrooms, and they take everything off the walls in the hallways and basically do a giant reset.
Oh.
So we got in there. It was okay. We had to panic and start decorating with some of the stuff that was left aside by the teachers that was out and available. We got instructions from the principal who said that basically if there's anything that's left out, you can use that to decorate, because we're thinking, oh my gosh, all of these walls are empty and this is not what a classroom's going to look like.
Classrooms aren't just sort of institutional looking where it's just white walls and nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, eventually they all will be here in Idaho. I'm sure that's what the education system's going to look like in the next 5 or 10 years.
We're just going to keep ragging on Idaho in every episode.
Well, I will say, outside of Boise, you don't need to have a film permit to shoot. So it is very easy
That is nice.
to film in Idaho.
It is.
State parks, that type of thing, that's a different story. Obviously, you need to get permission to go in and use footage in those areas. But for the most part, you can just run around with a camera and people are going to let you in Idaho.
It's not a lot of states you can do that anymore. So that
True.
is a win.
Yeah,
is
so
a win.
we do have that in our favor. But education, watch out. So the school, we did panic. Fortunately, we were able to get it decorated, but it was kind of one of those things. It was all hands on deck. We had some associate producers that were helping us out. And the joke was, at the end of the film, everybody gets a credit for art department.
Your art department is your whole film.
Yes.
Everybody.
And we did actually get help on hair and makeup for one of the days too, which is a luxury in indie film to have access to that. But we had a local hair and makeup person, Amanda Woods,
who is phenomenal.
We have a scene where the mother has like a heart attack and is in the hospital.
Yeah.
And the difference after she got done was night and day, making the mother look like she just had a heart attack.
That she's actually pallid. There's actually some problems.
Yeah,
There's
like
discoloration
sweat that
and
she put
sweat and
sweat that she put on her head, and it was amazing to see that transformation. So
that's
if
really
you
important.
can swing it, it's super important to have hair and makeup and somebody watching out for that too, just for consistency.
yeah.
Have you ever been on a shoot where, because you do some acting too, have you ever been on a shoot where they decide to adjust the schedule and it goes over a long period of time and you're wondering, well, what did I look like back then?
I actually had an experience with that last summer. I was away for a week shooting on location, and we didn't get everything we needed, so we had to come back. But I want to say that was in June, and we didn't come back to the same location because obviously the place was rented, so there were like schedule conflicts and the availability of the space to rent again.
Dang.
And so when we got up there for the second week, it was September.
Oh.
And the most terrifying thing for me was something I didn't think about too hard. I caught myself before I went. I'd been really wanting to get my hair cut.
Oh, it's natural to just get a haircut.
Yeah, but thankfully I thought about that beforehand. And
Yeah.
so I made sure on my last day of shooting, I was like, okay, can you text me when we get this through at least some of the edit and let me know for sure that all the footage is there? Because if it's not, and I go cut my hair and then suddenly we have a scene where my hair is 6 inches shorter, that might be noticeable.
True.
You might notice something like that.
Especially if it's right back to back.
Yeah.
And you never know in the edit how
You
that's
don't.
going to look. If
You
it's
don't.
not your story, you're
Nope.
not quite sure. And even if you do think it's going to look a certain way, you might re-edit it after you edit it the first time and think, oh boy, this needs to get sped up. This needs to be condensed.
Yep.
And wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Hair, and if you're a short-haired person,
Keep an eye on it and make sure you go get your hair cut
yeah,
again.
3 months from then, and if you don't have a person that's in charge of hair and makeup,
They're not going to think to look for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess I lucked out on that front because my hair is pretty curly. So you don't.
that is lucky.
Yeah. I get a little bit of give. But it also means that it never looks the same from day to day. And that's,
Or shot to shot. So
or
it's
shot to shot.
consistently inconsistent.
So at least I have that going for me.
That's nice. I think consistently inconsistent is a good thing.
Yeah. It's worked well for me so far.
So obviously we've been on a lot of sets where art department wasn't there, and it was necessary, unfortunately.
It was.
Because it turns into a headache. Can you think of some famous examples of films with good and bad art?
I think my favorite just bad production design.
Okay.
Entirely bad production design is The Messengers.
Okay.
And it was a horror film from 2007.
Oh, okay.
2008.
Okay. So this is like a B horror?
I don't think it was supposed to be.
Oh. They were proud of it.
I'm worried they were. But they shot at this house that, of course, inevitably had a cornfield around it. I kid you not, from the opening sequence, it looks like fall.
Okay.
And you can tell because the corn looks like it should be harvested. By the middle of the film, the corn is still very green and growing and
Okay.
not even ripe yet.
Oh, right on.
But they still shoot in the cornfields. It goes from being like ridiculously warm and all the costumes are like short sleeves and jean shorts and stuff
Okay.
to like suddenly it's a winter time and they're all in coats and it's a nightmare. It's a mess. But I do remember that being one of the most fun times I ever had watching a movie because everyone in the theater agreed how bad it was and we were all just yelling at the screen about how bad this was and what season is it? It was pretty great.
Oh, awesome. That's too bad that the filmmakers weren't there to hear your
I
jeers.
think they would have loved the commentary.
That's great.
What about you?
I always think of, what was it called? Indiana Jones. I wrote it down. Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Okay, now I have not seen any Indiana Jones movies.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so why was that one specifically the one?
Well, first of all, the trilogy was nice.
Okay.
It was kind of wrapped up. And I think it was all done within the 80s. I don't remember if the last one in the trilogy went into the 90s, but if it did, it was early 90s. This was like 2006 or 7 or 8, somewhere around there. And it was just forced together. And the soundstage usage, to me, I remember when I was watching it, I thought to myself, this looks really cheap.
Oh.
Where if you watch the original Indiana Jones, there's some stunts and he's
Yeah.
on a tank and crazy crap is
Isn't he
happening.
running from a giant boulder and stuff? And
Yeah, and they superimposed all that stuff, but they got some really good footage to make it look good. And then
Yeah.
they were it kind of reminded me of Princess Bride, when they go into the forest, the cursed forest. What was that called? The Flaming Forest?
Oh, you are asking the wrong person.
Oh, okay.
I
The
have seen that movie.
rodents of unusual sizes.
Okay.
So, you can put in the comments if you
fill us
remember the
in.
name, because I forget the name of the forest, but it looks kind of cheap. And then you can tell that the rodent of unusual size is just a guy walking around on his hands and feet in a costume, and it's kind of funny. It looks chintzy,
But it works.
Because it's Princess Bride, and it's a comedy.
It's a comedy, and it's a little cutesy, and they lean into moments like that.
Yeah, and Indiana Jones was a big budget movie, and I thought to myself, why is this on such a crappy soundstage?
Why is this a big budget movie that looks like Monty Python?
Mm-hmm. And it was actual props that they were using. I think they were supposed to be outside in some forest at some juncture. I can't remember. I did honestly block most of this movie out of my mind because Indiana Jones was a good trilogy, and this movie was awful. I think did they make a fifth one? I don't even remember. They needed to stop. They needed to stop after 3. It was done. It was just like the Matrix 4. Well, it was the Matrix trilogy. Matrix was fine on its own. I'm ranting at this juncture about sequels.
You seem very passionate about people going too far with a series.
It's clearly a cash grab.
Yeah.
They don't care at all about the content that they're producing.
No.
They're just like, this is going to cost X amount of dollars and we're going to get X amount out of it. I imagine. I've never been on one of these board meetings, but they have too much money. So
yeah, but there is that. They have a formula. If we plug this much money into it, we will get the X number of dollars out of it.
And part of the formula was to cut back on art department on Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, probably writing too, because the entire script was garbage.
They had AI write it.
It was
ChatGPT.
It was 2007 AI, which
even worse.
Just regular old chatbots from the early internet. That's who put together that script, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, the art department was really bad on that.
Art department's a really big deal.
Yeah, and it's easy to think of a lot of really good examples.
Oh yeah, I have actually one of my favorites is Her. One where the guy falls in love with the cell phone voice. On the subject of AI, let's talk about Her. A guy falls in love with the voice on his cell phone.
Yeah.
But
great movie.
Such a good movie. And I loved the whole thing. And yes, I know a lot of it had that, what is it, like the teal peach color grade style thing that like people are
teal
saying.
And orange.
Yeah, where it's gone too far now and people are really upset about it. But Mad Max is a really good use of it. And I think Her was a really good use of it because they didn't stick to it the entire time.
Okay.
And they had a lot of cool blues in there as well that I thought was really, really nice, that just really added to that atmosphere of loneliness and isolation, accompanied with all these really wide shots. So obviously the storyboard artist was involved. Mm-hmm. The costuming played off it really well. They just did a really good job on the production design for that one, I think. I've also been told, but have not seen the movie, so I can't guarantee this, but have been told that Shakespeare in Love is similar, where the production design was just top-notch.
Okay.
Which is cool. And then I will also shamelessly say absolutely anything by Baz Luhrmann.
For example,
Moulin Rouge, for sure. Great Gatsby, for sure. Like, I don't know. I just think
those timely pieces where they put the attention to detail.
Exactly. But it was so not period also, because they had so much modern stuff, but just own it and weave it in seamlessly and make it believable. And it's beautiful and I love it. I will say more on the TV side of things, and I hope nobody hates me for this one. And it does go back to horror, of course, because it would. I think Mike Flanagan's projects. I don't know who the production designer that he works with is. I assume it's somebody very similar, but Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, like whether or not you like any of them.
Was Midnight Mass the one about the vampires?
Yeah, the Catholic vampires.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can describe it.
That was kind of cool.
So weird.
There was one, I do remember, I'm going to go out tangentially here. There was a shot on the beach where they kept following the two people in a circle. Instead of doing a 2-camera take, they were on this beach. And as they were talking, they did a oneer. Yeah. And it seemed like the cameraman was just walking in a circle, or camera woman or camera person was just walking in a circle around the two actors. And at first I was like, this is kind of cool. And then it went on for a really long time. And I thought, this is a very interesting choice.
I actually do remember the shot that you're talking about because I'm like, this was
like the
cool.
First episode.
For the first 5 minutes, but we're 35 minutes in, bro. I'm dizzy.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. Anyway.
So his set deck is solid.
I do think so. I assume he works with similar people, but I don't, because he has a lot of overlap in a lot of his stuff. So
it's
I assume,
unique vibe.
Yeah. But I think just gorgeous. What about you?
Lord of the Rings for me.
Oh, good call.
That's
Yeah.
something I grew up on. It came out right when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And so that was a fun movie. And when I go back and revisit it, I'm not as enamored by it because I think the set design on that movie it pulled you in,
Yeah.
and I was a lot more forgiving about the quality of writing and screen adaptations at that point when I was younger. I didn't quite notice it.
Really?
It was like, oh, like cool, like fights, and they look like hobbits, and that looks like a wizard, and everything looks really cool, and it sounds really cool, and I wasn't paying attention to the actual script because there's some really weird ones at the last movie. It's the slow motion shot of all of them in Frodo's bed. It just doesn't
It doesn't work. For
it
you
doesn't
anymore.
work for me any longer. So
I actually really hated Lord of the Rings when it first came out. I despised it.
right on. Hey,
was just bored to tears, saw them in theaters and fell asleep during every single one, and felt like I was being teased at that last one where it felt like it ended and then another scene would start and then it felt like it ended and I would
They're
get
long.
up to get ready to go and we can't leave yet. It's still going. I did go through and try to watch them again as I was older and had a
Yeah.
kind of opposite reaction to you. I liked them more when I watched them a few years ago, but I don't think I got all the way through them.
okay. Did you ever read the books?
No. Mm-mm.
Well, if you want to talk about boring, get ready to hear about a tree for 30 pages. No, I'm just kidding.
Not to mention
Tolkien is great.
walking, hide in a bush, walking, hide in a bush. No, I could not get through those. There was no way that my little ADHD brain was going to let me do that.
I love the series that Tolkien wrote, but he does get really into those descriptions.
It was really popular when I was in junior high, and my brain was not going to focus on that at the time. Now, realistically, I do think the man's a brilliant author.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the research that went into all that alone, like I'm not going to fault him at all.
Yeah, and Dungeons and Dragons would not exist if it weren't for Tolkien.
Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But also the Wizards of the Coast. Weren't those the original copyright owners for D&D? You know what? I have friends who can tell me if that's right or not.
Let's just say a bunch of stuff because I feel like people that are really into D&D are also very chill. And if we miss up some specific technical thing or historical thing that can be easily fact-checked on Wikipedia, they'll be very relaxed about it.
I'm sure they won't come for us at all.
Yeah.
And I'm really regretting leaving my phone outside of the studio. I should just Google this. I should just know this.
Get hammered in the comments on our D&D lack of knowledge. But anyway, set design.
Oh, right. That's what we were talking about with set design. We got off on a tangent there.
Yes,
okay.
we did.
Anyway, so do you have any really good, other than Lord of the Rings, any other really good ones you want to mention?
No,
Because I brought up a ton.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
No. I mean, I did.
No, okay.
Oh.
No, I'm done. That's
Okay.
all I can think of. It's just that's the only movie I ever liked. The set decoration was just Lord of the Rings. No, I mean obviously there's a lot of good examples.
There are a ton.
It's harder to find crappy examples, but
Well, it depends on your budget. If
True.
you have budget for an art department, it's gonna look good. You're gonna know. If indie film has a budget for an art department, you're gonna be able to tell pretty early on.
It's fun to just go look up fan films on
Oh,
YouTube.
yeah.
Those are amazing because you can find all sorts of superhero stuff and you can see the difference between a high budget art department and a very, very low budget or no budget art department.
Yeah.
Quickly when they're doing fantasy and sci-fi, superheroes, all that stuff.
Anything, period.
It's good stuff. So what do you do now? How do you handle art now?
Well, now I harass some of my friends who are very, very good at it. Specifically, we're just naming people. Kyle Daniel Barrow is my favorite production designer. He has saved my butt on so many things. So, mad shout out to him.
Cool. He designs props and sets.
Yep. All of it. He did the custom poker table for The Man Who Would Not Shake Hands. He built an entire roller coaster and a rotating stage for my musical. Dude's a magician. But that's, production designers.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, meet people like Amanda Woods, like Danielle Cook. Meet people who do makeup really, really, really well.
Yeah.
Meet people who do special effects makeup like Sheila Ann really well. Meet people who do costumes like Heather Horner. Make friends with people work on films that have things you admire. I shouldn't just say Heather Horner too. Amanda Fitch is great at costumes as well.
True.
I can't list everyone who's good at all this stuff.
Yeah.
I will run out of time.
I think we should list everybody in the world who's good at this.
And these are all specific to the Boise area, so I don't know. But if you're looking for any of those positions, Google those people and look at their amazing work because they are magnificent.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the theater community.
Yes.
And that's what we've done at Lower Gentry Studios to be able to get a lot of our productions finished, is to pull from local theater talent, especially for acting.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of people don't realize that, like, if you go to a community theater and you can find people that are willing to donate their time and their skills to a community theater play, they might be amenable to coming and acting on camera for you for your weekend shoot on your short film.
Exactly.
And we've definitely pulled from that into
it's helpful. And they're talented.
And you can go to your local theaters and see what's going on with their set decorations.
Yeah.
And maybe make some connections at a local theater, because if that stuff looks good, chances are those people are going to be able to do the same thing in front of a camera.
Yeah.
So
practical.
definitely talk to theater people. Talk to theater folks. You can find them more easily because they're just hanging out in the theater.
They're just hanging out in these theaters. But I will say that theater taught me a lot about prop stuff too, right?
Okay.
So there was one I did a little while back called Didn't, that was a period piece, which was awful. But the movie and the process.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. The movie wasn't that bad. But I had to do all the costuming, props, everything, art department for all this stuff that's set in the 50s.
Okay.
Which...
It's not the 50s now.
No.
We're not even close.
No. And actually for that one, I had Heather Miller on costumes, who was also great. And she did a fantastic job making an Albertsons, or Vaughn's, depending on where you're listening to this at. But it was Albertsons brand apron using their logo from the 50s.
Oh, nice.
Which was really cool.
Nice attention to detail there.
Yeah, because that's what happens when you get other people to do it. Because then we also needed a dead chicken.
Okay.
Which...
What did those look like in the 50s?
Well, no, it was just a weird thing to need.
Okay.
But I wasn't about to go kill a chicken. So I was like, well, can you have the chicken stuffed in a bag? So I just took like this old pillowcase and ripped it open and just beat it over a bunch of rocks and dirt and stuff to get it really dirty, and glued a couple feathers to the
nice.
top of it. So that way, and then shoved more padding in it.
Okay.
So that way when he was running, it looked like there was, maybe there's probably a chicken in there.
Yeah. Nice. Practical effects.
Yeah. And then added some chicken sounds in post and
Good
called
stuff.
it a day.
Nice. Well, that's good advice there.
Yeah,
for sure.
But if I hadn't worked on a bunch of community theater shows, those props would have felt a lot weirder and harder to make. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't do anything with your theater, or you can't get their time, try to get their props master or their costumer or somebody to sit down, buy them a cup of coffee, chat through, and see what they would do. Because, man, community theater people are creative problem solvers.
Because they don't have a lot of money.
They don't have money. And they still make it work.
And they're passionate.
Yeah, that also helps.
Excellent. Well, anything else to add?
Other than a very succinct goodbye?
Let's do that. Bye.
Bye.